You said you know what's inside this house. You said it's evil. Where are they?
Do not touch. She's around here.
Whoa, that's not demise.
The eyes?
Thermal.
Thermal!
Out here, things don't go wrong all at once. They build quietly. A peaceful night turns into a sealed tent, filling with smoke in the middle of a storm. And somewhere else, something starts walking through the water close enough to hear every step. So when the silence finally breaks, is it already too late to leave? It's September 16th, 2023, late summer in the mountains of Korea. Rain continues without interruption, covering the forest in a steady gray haze. This is Kieran Camp, a YouTube channel known for quiet solo camping trips where gentle rain, simple meals, and calm moments with her dog Ange create small pockets of peace. But today, that peace feels uncertain. The air feels heavy, the clouds hang low, and the forest, though, still seems to be holding something back. The rain never lets up. Kieran steps outside in her raincoat, her movements slow, almost cautious, as if the forest is watching. The ground gives way beneath her boots while she struggles with a one-touch shelter that refuses to set properly. By the time the tent is standing, both she and Ange are soaked. The dog shakes off the water, a small, drenched shape against the gray.
Wow. 완전 화생방이야, 화생방.
Inside, the sound of rain softens into a distant hum. Kieran seals the TPU window and prepares warm rice for Ange, her small act of care easing the cold. When the rain briefly slows, she begins cooking seafood pancakes crackling over the flame. The scent of chives and pepper fills the tent, and for a moment the storm outside feels far away. But calm never lasts long in the wilderness. The rain intensifies again, striking the tarp as thunder rolls across the valley. Kieran lets out a quiet laugh, calling her dish seafood pizza, finding comfort in macchioli as the outside world turns into sheets of silver rain. Then the warmth turns against her. Smoke rises from the stove, first faint, then thick and choking. She coughs, rushing to put out the fire. The tent darkens the damp air, heavy with smoke and panic. Water begins to leak in from every side, dripping through seams, collecting beneath her feet. She checks her phone, but there's no signal, only the steady sound of rain and the growing realization that she is completely alone. She retreats to her car-soaked blankets and a trembling dog beside her. The night drags on. Each gust of wind rattles the windows like a quiet warning.
กูก็นิทาง
Morning arrives, still weighed down by rain. Kieran feeds Ange ox knee soup and makes herself coffee and a bagel, the simple warmth easing the memory of smoke and fear. The trip, she admits, felt like a disaster film, but every storm leaves something behind. The ground becomes firm again after the rain. Perhaps this is what solo camping truly means, not peace, but endurance. A reminder that calm isn't found in comfort, but in facing discomfort with quiet strength. As Kieran and Ange leave the soaked campsite, their footprints slowly disappear into the mud. Would you still search for peace if you knew the rain would never end? October 19th, 2025. Deep in the Pacific Northwest, the crew of Twin Paranormal arrived at a cabin hidden miles from the nearest town. No power, no signal, only trees that whisper when the wind fades. For years, locals have shared stories about this place, a forest cabin where a witch once carried out dark rituals, and where travelers claim to have seen something not quite human. Some call it dogman, others a skinwalker. Tonight, the team begins their investigation inside the very walls where those legends began.
This cabin feels very, very eerie. We've been to a couple of cabins and have never felt this way, huh?
No.
Ever.
It's like you're constantly being watched.
The plan is, we're gonna sit in a circle, we're gonna ring this bell. We're gonna try to bring in whoever people see or think they see.
This camera just got blurry.
How?
Now it's good. It just blurred out.
Whoever you are, whatever you are, we're gonna ring this bell. If you can hear it.
Did you hear that while you were talking?
It sounded like somebody was talking outside of the cabin.
Right out the window here.
Where is that? That's right here. Can you step away? Why does that thing sound like that?
I don't know.
What?
I just felt a...
Whoa, did you just hear that upstairs?
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna reset it.
Yeah.
The moment they stepped inside, the air shifted. The wooden floor creaked beneath their boots and the silence felt so dense it seemed alive. Every shadow stretched too far, every corner seemed to breathe. Twin Paranormal had explored dozens of haunted locations before, but this cabin felt different. They formed a circle, placing the bell at the center, the air trembling with cold. Before the first ring, something moved upstairs, a dragging sound, slow and deliberate. Moments later, the camera slipped out of focus on its own. A whisper came from outside the window. Everyone heard it. When the bell finally rang, the spirit box responded. Static cracked, then a voice faint broken asking why they came. Another followed immediately, deeper, colder, welcoming them, mentioning that someone had been killed. They rushed outside, hearts racing, but the forest was empty.
We have these devices that you can speak through. You can say one word or a whole sentence. You can say whatever you want. Anything.
No, it does not feel like we are alone. Dad. I just heard that.
Would you like to talk? Who's upstairs?
It's either there. I mean, I don't know what's going on. It sounded like somebody's upstairs, but also, it sounded like somebody was walking around the fucking house. Wait, that just went.
Can you walk away? Please? Did you just Did you hear that? Did you? The REM pod stopped and it said, "Why did you come?"
And then that.
We came to talk. Who's up here?
For what you are. Do you mind telling us?
You will what? No.
Welcome you. Who?
Can we do a quick walk?
Quick walk?
I'm just curious.
Outside?
Yeah.
Let's go back inside.
Do you have the bell? No. Did you just hear the bell? I did. Where's the bell?
Inside on the couch.
Wait, why? Did you hear the bell?
I did hear that bell. We should go.
I'm hosting, not
I've seen what's inside.
What are the odds? We go out there, it says, I like the forest. Evil. I've seen what's inside. House, evil.
Who is this?
There's something evil in here?
Shut the up.
It's like this. Can you see us? Are you watching?
Did that say yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't fear us.
Demise.
Demise?
Demise.
Two different devices.
Is there somebody outside?
Whoa, that's not demise.
The eyes?
Thermal.
Thermal!
Do we have it?
What? Bro? Somebody said thermal. Is that how we can see you? You said you know what's inside this house. You said it's evil. Where are they?
Do not touch. She's around here.
And yet from inside the cabin, the bell rang again on its own. The devices began responding one after another, phrases about the forest, about seeing what was inside, about something evil. The words came faster, overlapping fragments pressing in from every direction. Then came the scratching. Long, deliberate marks dragged across the wooden wall, echoing the old stories of nails scraping against glass. One of them whispered that she was there. Another voice, metallic through the static, responded with references to thermal vision and glaring eyes. Outside, footsteps circled the cabin again. Inside, something whispered softly about pain sickness and a warning to be careful.
This thing is trying to trick us, I believe. We go outside, and it said, I've seen what's inside. It says evil, meaning that it's trying to lure us outside.
It's hard for me to process whether or not this is like an energy or like some weird physical manifestation of something. You know what I'm saying? How would it go from outside to inside? We're the only ones in this cabin, let alone probably in like this square 100 miles. This is like a totally different fear than we've ever really dealt with.
Whoever's been speaking with us, we are putting our energy into these cards. We are putting our energy into you. And we hope that you are doing the same thing. All right, guys, we're gonna do this together. I just pick whatever feels best. You guys ready?
Yep.
The tower. Oops. The first card is the tower. That's the tower reversed.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's reversed, right?
Ten of Cups. Ten of Cups, upright.
The devil! No, 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 no!
Something doesn't feel good. Something feels like it's here.
There's something wrong. Did you guys hear that movement outside? It's definitely out. It did not sound like normal inside.
I got one more question.
Guys, what if
Such an old practice. If there was really a woman out here that had something wrong with her doing black magic, there's like a 99% chance that we're probably the only other people besides her that have ever done this here.
The group tried to stay grounded, searching for logical explanations, but it became clear that something else was responding, something aware. Fear seemed to feed it. The colder the air became, the stronger the responses grew. Whatever was in the forest wanted them to remain and wanted to be recognized. Later that night, the tarot cards revealed what logic could not. The tower pointed to chaos breaking through safety. 10 of Cups reversed suggested the cabin was never a place of peace, and the Devil reversed hinted at something unbound, an intelligence capable of manipulating fear itself. They began to question whether the witch's rituals had left something incomplete, something still searching for a form. When morning finally arrived, one voice on the recorder repeated the same line again and again, that it hosts, not haunts. Maybe it was never a spirit bound to the cabin. Maybe the cabin was bound to it. Josh Life Adventures documents the experiences of a man known simply as Josh living full-time on the road in his custom van. The channel highlights the practical, unfiltered realities of van life, vehicle maintenance, daily organization, cooking, and solo camping in scenic, often remote locations across the United States. His relaxed, straightforward style has built a loyal audience that follows his pursuit of freedom through minimal living and constant travel. On November 11, 2024, his journey continued near Lake Superior as he focused on an essential task, recharging his batteries after a week of work. He spent his final day in Minnesota on maintenance, giving his van a thorough cleaning, sweeping beneath the bed, organizing storage spaces, and arranging his essentials. He also showed the equipment stored under the floor, including tools, recreational gear, and his LiPo battery and diesel heater system. Later in the afternoon, he realized the battery charging was not working due to thick cloud cover and the sun dropping too low behind the trees. He relocated to a lakeside campsite and, despite choosing the best position available, encountered a familiar issue: the wind blowing directly into the van. With the van set up, he shifted focus to his firewood supply. He built a strong fire to burn through what remained and began preparing dinner. The unusual moment occurred just as he started assessing his freshly cooked burger. While describing the meal, a strange sound drifted in from the darkness.
Do you guys hear that? Okay, my camera battery just died. I have no idea what that was. It's gotta be a deer, right? Won't be walking through a lake. Is that a bird? Huh. Well, I think I'm gonna pack up and get inside the van.
His camera stopped recording as the noise continued, leaving him trying to understand what he had heard. The sound seemed to come from the lake and resembled something moving on legs through shallow water. Unsettled, he ended the night early and retreated into the van, noting how disturbing the sound had been. He relied on his diesel heater for warmth and comfort, while the unexplained activity continued somewhere beyond the reach of the firelight. By morning, sunlight filled the area, but the questions remained. Standing by the lake, he thought back to the previous night's sounds and the spot they came from, an area only a few feet deep near a patch of rocks. The way the noise resembled something walking through shallow water led him to briefly consider creatures tied to wilderness legends. Nothing was ever confirmed. His final night in Minnesota became a mix of productivity and lingering unease. Although he completed important maintenance and enjoyed a meal by the fire, the quiet isolation was interrupted by the presence of something unseen moving through the water. The experience reinforced how unpredictable solo camping in remote areas can be. He left the state with plans for more adventures, hinting lightly at the unexpected situations he might face as he continued heading west. Some viewers suggested the sounds were caused by local wildlife, while others pointed out that the depth and rhythm felt heavier than typical animals. The isolated setting and shallow water make the encounter difficult to explain with certainty. If the noise really came from something moving on two legs in only a few feet of water, what kind of creature could move so confidently in the dark? The unanswered mystery lingers long after the fire burned out. Shadow Hollow is one of those obscure channels that appears without context, offering almost no information about who is behind it. With only 2 uploads, it's far from active, but sometimes it's the quiet creators who capture the most unsettling footage. The video opens like a typical outdoor outing, the kind expected from a simple walk through the woods. Yet, as many viewers have realized, the forest can shift from normal to alarming without warning. The first signs come as faint sounds, subtle at first, then growing sharper. These aren't typical forest noises. Sudden impacts and snapping branches break the silence, creating the feeling that something large is moving nearby. When someone is alone in dense woods and hears branches breaking, the mind immediately jumps to danger, whether from an animal or another person.
Alright guys, I think we'll go on the other path. Let's try. I usually don't go down this path, but I am now. Just gonna ignore that. Cross over this. Just a minute. I saw something. What the f was that? Strange. Definitely hearing things. I'm just gonna go this way. Alright guys, we gotta go. Yeah, no. Oh, that is. But I ain't trying to find out. Okay. I don't know if we're in the clear yet.
The creator takes a different path, hoping the tension will ease, but the strange sounds follow. He notices brief movements between the trees, quick flashes of something that disappears before it can be identified. Fear begins to replace curiosity, and he attempts to leave the area. But panic in unfamiliar woods brings its own problems. Trails begin to look the same, fading light hides key landmarks, and the sound of something trailing behind becomes harder to ignore. At one point, the noise intensifies into fast, heavy movement through the brush.
Come out here. That's the way out.
He catches sight of a figure in the distance. It looks somewhat human, but the proportions and posture feel off in a way that's difficult to define. Trying to escape, he reaches what seems like a main trail, but the situation worsens.
Maybe I'm just hearing things. No, it's definitely something. Go around this fucking corner. I just hop the fence and go back again. Please tell me nothing's behind this corner. Thank God. I think Shit. Shit. This.
A whistle echoes nearby. When he turns toward it, the same figure appears again, this time only a short distance away. What follows is the most disturbing moment. The figure suddenly leans forward and rushes at him on all fours, moving with a speed and motion that no person should be capable of. He runs in full panic and eventually gets away, confirmed by the fact that the video was uploaded afterward. Whether the encounter was staged or real remains unclear. With so few videos on the channel verifying, it is nearly impossible. But if the footage is genuine, it raises a disturbing question about what was actually present in those woods. Some believe the figure could have been an animal mistaken in low light, while others argue its posture and speed suggests something far more unusual. The repeated appearances and behavior resembling pursuit make simple explanations difficult. If he hadn't run when he did, how close would that crawling figure have come? And what was it really trying to do as it followed him through the trees? This video comes from Wildcat Adventures, a UK-based wilderness exploration channel. She travels alone into remote environments to wild camp forage practice, bushcraft swim, and explore untouched landscapes. Her content focuses on immersive solo survival, isolation, and the raw beauty of nature. It is December 15th, 2025, deep within dense New Zealand bush.
Hi, I'm Kat, and today we're heading deep into the jungle of New Zealand. As I wandered through the lush forest, I couldn't help but marvel at the massive tree ferns all around me. But as I set up camp and the sun went down, the jungle woke up, and suddenly the adventure became very real.
She arrives at a secluded campsite beside a quiet stream surrounded by thick vegetation on all sides. She sets up her tent and repairs a leaking air mat using shoe glue, aware that even minor problems can feel much more serious when completely alone. As night falls, she prepares a freeze-dried meal of apricot chicken, followed by sticky date pudding and custard. She eats near the river as the bush grows darker and feels more enclosed.
I don't know if you can hear that, but whatever it is, I have no idea.
A rustling sound breaks the stillness. The movement seems heavy and close. Kat pauses and listens, trying to determine what might be moving through the dense vegetation nearby.
The only thing I think to be worried about in these woods would be wild boar, because they are big and strong and could easily trample the tent. Put my food rubbish outside the tent just in case they can have that. Yeah, hopefully I'll be alright and I'll see you in the morning.
The sounds return throughout the night, not constant, but irregular and unpredictable. Though tense and alert, exhaustion eventually takes over and she falls asleep, knowing whatever caused the noises could still be nearby. Morning changes the atmosphere. Kat wakes to find her air mat completely deflated, yet the fear from the night slowly fades as a calm sunrise settles over the stream. If you heard those noises outside your tent, would you stay calm or begin to imagine something worse? This video comes from After Dark Crew. Their content centers on exploring abandoned and forgotten locations. It is January 17, 2026 at Hill 60, a coastal site containing abandoned World War II bunker systems.
We're out here at Port Kembla, and we're about to go explore some abandoned World War II bunkers and tunnels for you all.
There's ominous feelings that have been reported of soldiers, though there's no specific details on what soldiers.
And, well, this facility housed two 6-inch military, what do you call cannons? Weapons?
2 6-inch guns, I believe.
Believe it or not, they were actually only fired twice in history.
And just another tidbit about the guns, the actual steel that's used to make the cannons was recycled from older World War I warships.
The main design is in the shape of a H, and they in some of those rooms they used to store a lot of their gunpowder and ammunition and stuff like that.
Shortly after moving deeper into the tunnels, the camera glitches again and briefly cuts out. Although the recording resumes, the malfunction adds tension as the group continues underground.
What was that?
Fucking Dave? It's a movie. It's on camera there.
There's a mob. Turn off this back. Was that SpongeBob, Dad?
Yeah, bro. It's so
As they make their way through the bunker complex, a sudden, unexplained sound interrupts them. A brief moment of panic follows as doors, shadows, and unexpected shapes seem to appear in the darkness.
I almost pissed myself like at Mum's.
Jump out, like, I don't think I might walk out, so I just seize it.
My heart sunk, lad. I sat there. Nathan has never been more scared in his life.
A sharp bang echoes through the tunnel, sounding close and forceful. One member reacts immediately, clearly shaken by how sudden and nearby it feels.
The tunnel that we were going down, one we heard the noise and I thought I seen lights flashing down the cave, and I absolutely pooped myself.
Toward the end of the exploration, they report seeing lights and movement deeper within the tunnels in areas that had not been marked with glow sticks. Combined with the earlier noises and equipment interference, the group decides not to continue and begins making their way back to the exit. Old structures can cause normal sounds to feel louder and more unusual. Do you think it was simply the bunker settling or something else moving in the dark?